Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I just see there's a flurry of people coming in, so we'll just give it 30 seconds more just to get the final people in. Okay, let's get started. Well, good morning, everyone. By way of introduction, my name is Sean. I head up the team here at rapidMATION. And this morning, we're going to be talking about the future of insurance, humans and software bots working together. Now, just before we get started, just some housekeeping. Please feel free to ask any questions through the Q&A manager or using the chat channel. Between Jono, Tams, and I will make sure that all of those questions get answered. And we'll have some Q&A towards the latter part of the session. All right, so let's get going. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is we're going to start off with a quick poll this morning. And I'm just going to launch a poll on my side. And the first poll is going to just ask you which category best describes you. And would you categorize yourself as either an insurance broker or an insurance underwriter? Or perhaps option 3, I put in neither. I'm just here for the free virtual coffee. So it's always fun seeing these polls light up on my side. At this stage, probably 47% brokers, 44% underwriters. Well, it's just even split at the moment. A few people here just for the free virtual coffee, so that's always fun as well. And I'll just give it a few more seconds. Okay, and that's almost everyone voted. All right, great. So it's actually a pretty even split between brokers and underwriters, maybe slightly more brokers, but just by a few percent. And that's a great audience for today because we've got some great things to show both of you. So I'm just going to close that poll down and come back to the slides here. And what we're going to do today is we're going to discuss some of the problems that we know that you guys in the brokers network might have. So as an example, on a day-to-day basis, you might handle things like certificates of currency or claims or compliance, or even things like debtors, which is very topical at the moment. And that ranges across to new business payments, quotes, and the like. And if we switch over to the underwriter side of the world, very similarly, they have similar problems, but maybe at a different scale. And that's also around things like certificates of currency or issuing policy schedules or policy invitations or renewals or the like. And in your day-to-day basis, what you might do is you might interact with one or more of the systems that you see on this slide. So you could be working with the Steadfast tools, and that may range from Insight to Underwrite Essential or Virtual Underwriter, or perhaps you work with the EBEX tools, which might be Winbeat or the Sunrise system or things like that. And you might use things like iBase or Organize IT or Office Tech for compliance. But really, these are just some of the tools that you may interact with on a day-to-day basis. The first thing that I'm going to point out is don't think that we only do kind of these automations around the tools you see on this slide. This is just an example of the many tools that you might use in your day-to-day basis. And we as a company, we're a company called rapidMATION, which means rapid automation. And we do something called intelligent automation. And intelligent automation may sound scary, but really it's just about how we automate processes for companies just like yours using both us as humans and these little things called software bots. And if you don't have any context or know about these just yet, this session is going to give you a good introduction to what these little software bots can do. Now down the bottom, you'll see there's 4 different things that we do as a company. One is digital process automation. Another is robotic process automation. We then infuse those with different pieces of artificial intelligence. And sometimes we use chatbots in some of these solutions. But really one of the things that we found has resonated really nicely with the insurance market is something called robotic process automation. Now, some of you may or may not have heard about robotic process automation, and these aren't the Terminator-style bots that are going to take over the world. Really, these little bots are software bots that sit on our machines. And really what these software bots are here to help us out do is take care of any of the tedious, mundane, or repetitive tasks that any of us may have in our day-to-day jobs. Now you'll see this is an advert for a platform called UiPath. UiPath is the product that we use, and it's a robotic process automation platform. And it says, hello, we're UiPath. We make robots so people don't have to be robots. And why this works so well as a solution to many problems in insurance is that these little software bots, we can teach them to do the clicks that you and I as humans would do on a screen. And really what that allows us to do is it can free up our time to perform higher value tasks. So if you think about anything that we do in the broker underwriter world, I often call it swivel chair. We pick up data from one system or from an email or extract it from a document, and we move across to another system and punch that data in, and then we perform different pieces of work. And generally that pattern of work is tedious and mundane. And if we could actually offload some of these tasks onto these software bots, that could free up our times as humans to do higher value tasks. And really, because these bots do the clicks that you and I do, we can actually teach them to do the clicks across any user interfaces that you and I interact with. And what that means for us is that we can automate across any systems. So that could be the Steadfast tools or the EBEX tools or any other tools that we use on our day-to-day jobs. All right, now from the theory, let's go look and see how we can actually use this inside a world of an insurance broker. This example that I'm going to start off with is around an insurance broker. And really, we've been doing a few different campaigns. One is around the future of insurance brokers and software bots working together, and the other is around underwriters and software bots working together. But let's start off and look at the broker world. So we sat down with initial broker customer, and without trying really hard, we came across 4 really scenarios that I call home run scenarios for these little digital workers to help us out on. One is around debtors, right? And that's the example I'm going to share with you today. And that's how we could automate the debtors process. The next one is around claims task management. And really this is around if there's lots of emails coming into a company, there's obviously someone monitoring that email inbox and monitoring those different claims emails coming in. And in certain scenarios, we've built these little digital workers to pick up those new emails and then go and do something with that data. So perhaps assign that and file that correctly in a compliance system, or assign a task to someone to go and actually action that task. The other 2 very common ones are automatically being able to go and generate quotes for different information that might be coming in, or perhaps even automatically go and log claims if someone is actually making a claim. Now, enough talking about it, let me show you by way of example what one of these software bots look like in action. So many of you may have never seen one of these, right? And this little software bot or agent is just waiting for something or to tell it to get started. And down the right-hand side of this specific slide you'll see that there's a few icons. And what this is doing is this is showing you what this little digital worker is going to do for us. So this little software bot is going to wake up and it's going to go and log into Insight. For those of you who might not know Insight, it's really kind of like a CRM type tool where we store customer details. And in this scenario, what this bot's going to do, it's going to go download a debtor's schedule, and it's going to download that into Excel. And then what it's going to do, it's going to perform the clicks inside Insight to go and create a custom Word document template to that specific user who might be late on payments. And finally, then it's going to go through and it's actually going to go send that out via email. And in so doing, automate that whole end-to-end process. So what you'll start to see come up on the slides for you is you'll start to see this little digital worker in action, and we call him our digital broker. So everything you're seeing on the screen now is actually a digital worker that's woken up and it's browsed to a certain kind of report inside Insight. It's busy downloading that report, and you'll see that pop up on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And then what this bot is doing, it's opening up the details in that Excel spreadsheet and browsing to this specific customer and going to get all of the details of perhaps why they might be late for their certain premiums. What it's doing now, it's going and doing the clicks and generating a late payment notice. And in order to do this, it does the clicks inside Insight and selects a specific template. The bot then downloads that Word document template and automatically inputs the policyholder's details. You can see that this is all the software bot going and actually saving that document and then uploading it back into Insight. The next part of the process is that this little digital worker is going to craft us an email, and it's going to send an email out to that user who is having a late payment. And here you can see it's customizing the subject, and it's customizing the details of how late they might be, and it's adding in that attachment with that user's first non-payment notice. The digital worker can automatically go through and send out that email, and what that would do, it would free up any human user from having to perform these tedious, mundane, and repetitive clicks. Now, as it goes through the different reports inside Excel, the next part is going to pick up the next item, And in this scenario, it's the final non-payment notice. So in exactly the same way as the first example, it's downloading the documents, it's customizing with that specific user's details, it's then uploading that back into Insights, and it's going through and sending out an email. But in this case, with slightly different wording because it's following different business rules, because this is a final late payment reminder. And once it's finished doing that, it sends that off and it goes on and browses to the next item in the spreadsheet until it's gone through and processed all the work that it needs to do. Now, the first thing that needs to do here is it's going to go through, it's going to actually go log a specific task inside Insight. And what it's going to do here, because I can log different tasks against compliance or claims or the like. Here it's going to go through, it's going to log a cancellation notice, and what it's going to go do is go generate that cancellation of that specific policy and then go through and log the tasks against that. So again, in this very simple scenario, it's gone through and it's handled the full end-to-end debtors process. The outcome that we've got as an insurance broker is this is an absolutely key process to run on a daily basis to make sure that we're getting all of that cash into the business and that we're actually insuring people in the right way. But instead of tying up our human users' time, we've actually pushed these tasks off onto our digital broker who can then go through and perform those tedious, mundane, and repetitive tasks for us. Okay, so that's just one of many examples we have to show you, but I think that gives you a really good scenario of what you can actually do from a digital broker perspective. And really, when we showed these examples to the specific customer, you can see some of the feedback, right? So the first comment, this is awesome. This was from the director of that specific business. And then one of the broking managers, he said, Sean, that's amazing, looks really, really good. And this just shows you some of the power of these little digital workers in action. All right, so that's the broker example we had to show you today. Next up, I'm going to hand over to Jono, and Jono is going to take us through an insurance underwriter example. So Jono, over to you.
Thanks very much, Sean. One of the nice things about the insurance business is it's very process oriented. There's lots of defined processes for quoting, for renewals, for how we handle claims and various other aspects of that. But if you look at the individual work that is required of underwriters and those who are in that orbit, it's very much about research, it's about data entry, it's about calculating risk, it's about understanding the customer, it's about understanding the market, it's about understanding the various products and going through those processes and building up that knowledge around the individual policy perhaps, and then really making decisions on that. It is very much a data-driven decision-making process, but it needs to be done at speed. And so from what we've seen with organizations is that a lot of that work around underwriting is a combination of decision-making, that data-driven decision-making. But in order to get to that point of being able to make a decision for the underwriter to apply their smarts, there's a lot of manual activity, a lot of manual tasks to get to that point. They need to go and conduct research. They need to compile data about the customer, their claims history perhaps, about what they're looking to insure, about the various products in the market, the conditions in the market as well, particularly in our current circumstances. And so there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done in order for them to be able to then go and apply their knowledge and their expertise at that point in time. But it is very process oriented, which is fantastic because we can start applying these software bots to that problem. But not only is it process oriented, it's about pace. If you've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 different policies to renew each year, plus you're getting new business that you need to be acting on as well, that decision-making has to be done at speed. It has to be done at pace. So the pressure is very much on the individual underwriters, not only to compile all that information, to copy it from one system to the other, much like Sean was mentioning, that swivel chair. I need to take data from one system, copy it into not only another system, but then a system after that, and then perhaps a calculator spreadsheet in order to make that those decisions. So it needs to be done at speed. It needs to be done accurately. So one of the key things we work with insurance businesses is how can we take that load away from the underwriter? What are things that we can hand to a software bot to prepare for the underwriter? So can we take away all of that manual data entry? If we're copying data from system to system, perhaps preparing a renewal, taking the information from last year's policy, creating that new renewal, compiling additional information, perhaps that we've received from a broker about this year's policy details, perhaps then compiling and doing the calculations. How can we offload that to a software bot to go and do all that preparation? So what we're doing is we're enabling the underwriter themselves to then make that decision. And so that's what we've been doing with various customers, is we've been using these software bots to take away all of that manual activity, that low value activity, compiling information, retrieving last year's information, building that portfolio of information that the underwriter needs to make the appropriate decision, and offloading that to a software bot, automating that, and then enabling the underwriter to make those decisions. And so the software bot can take ownership of perhaps extracting data from PDFs and other documents that come into the business from perhaps brokers. It can add and go and provision and automate the creation of quotes and various other things in their respective underwriting platforms. It can go and apply that business logic, whether it's integrating with an existing calculator spreadsheet or other systems, to go and compile that, perhaps flood risk analysis and things like that. And then it can also go and add additional information that perhaps an underwriter could never do. These AI skills where it can perhaps understand sentiment. It can go and retrieve other standard information sets and apply that into the decision-making process, or supply that to the underwriter as well. So the software bot's not only about automating the mundane and taking away that administrative burden away from the underwriters, it's also about enriching that process as well and giving opportunities to transform that underwriting process as well. And so what we do, and what we've done with a number of insurance businesses, is to make sure we can enable the underwriters to be underwriters. We don't want them to be administrative assistants compiling information. We want to make sure they can apply their expertise, their smarts to the problem. And we want the software bots to be able to enable them to do that. And so that's where we see, and that's why we talk about underwriters and software bots working together to execute on these tasks. And what we've done for a number of different customers is really enable the software bot to compile that portfolio of information and hand it to the underwriter and say, here's everything you need to know at this point in time, perhaps about a renewal. You go and be the human in this particular process and apply your expertise to make those decisions. And that's where the power of software bots and underwriters working together becomes this future of insurance. And to give you some examples, one of the examples that we've worked with is sort of how it impacts the individual. So how does it impact the underwriter when we provide and we combine software bots and underwriters together? Well, it changes the underwriter's individual personal workflow. So not only if they sit down and perhaps they're tackling a renewal, the first thing they classically do is they have to compile all that information to make the decision. Well, with a software bot, particularly a software bot that's working 24/7, their personal workflow changes. Now the software bot is compiling all of that information, getting together that portfolio of information they need to perhaps tackle this renewal. It's doing that overnight. So when the underwriter sits down of a morning, they have 10, 20, 30 individual renewals that they can immediately start evaluating. They don't have to go and do all the administrative overhead to go and tackle that up front. So that change in personal workflow not only drives efficiency, but also changes sort of how the underwriter tackles their job and really drives some job satisfaction there as well. And when you're looking at perhaps renewals, I keep using the example that are taking somewhere between 20 and upwards of 40 minutes per renewal to tackle, being able to reduce that down to 10 minutes, 8 minutes, it's having a massive impact, not only on that person's ability to execute, but then on the larger value for the business. And so these software bots and automating these processes and combining software bots and underwriters enables the business to scale, particularly when you're getting to month end and you have to go through, you're tackling any number of different renewals and new business. That throughput, that scale is critically important. And we also need to be cognizant, as we're going through a pretty challenging economic situation at the moment, and we most probably will do for the next year or more, that we also need to understand costs. We need to understand how, as a business, can we scale as well. But not only scale, but also have measurable impact. One of the fantastic elements of combining software bots and underwriters together is we have great metrics as to how long it's actually taking for individuals or individual renewals or new business to be performed. So now we can have a true understanding of scale in the business. We have how long are we taking to execute on individual actions, how long is the end-to-end process, and we can then start forward planning, not only in terms of business growth, but in terms of resource planning and the like as well. And fundamentally, this all comes down to customer satisfaction, customer retention, and customer growth. That's what we're looking to drive out of these. So these are just some of the benefits we're seeing from applying software bots and underwriters together. To give you a tangible example for a customer we've been working with, this is a quote from one of the underwriting managers based on really 2 weeks after we launched this. Was see their initial impact they were seeing was it was cutting down 50 to 60% of the time for each of their renewals that we tackled for them. And as I said, some of these renewals were taking upwards of 40 minutes, which are very complex renewals. But if we can take that down to 20 minutes, or some of the standard renewals were taking 20, cut that down to 10, all of a sudden we've saved 50% on that. And then you start applying that across 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a year, then you're seeing true savings within the business. To measure some of those savings, and this is just one example, we rolled out a new renewals process for an organization recently. And after just over a month, about just 4.5, 5 weeks, the actual software bots have conducted over 300 hours of successful work within this renewals process. That equates to 8 person weeks of work in just 4 and a bit weeks. And basically the equivalent to adding 2 new members of staff. So in terms of scale, that's the scale that's been delivered. Now this as a process was rolled out in a phased sort of incremental way. So this hasn't been full volume for all of those 4 weeks. It's been a slow on ramp, and already we've seen this level of return on investment. And not only that, it's also been very measurable return on investment. This isn't finger in the air guesswork. These are tangible numbers. And so that's prepared over 1,000 different renewals. And then it's also been able to complete 700 of those. We've still got some backlog that the underwriters are catching up on that the bot then can then pick up and close out too. And so this is just some of the impact that we're seeing from applying software bots and underwriters together. Just so you understand, the concept of robotic process automation, software bots, intelligent automation, hyper automation is something you may have heard of as well, is not only applicable to the insurance business and the insurance market, it's being used across all businesses within in the world. So here's an example with JLL, where we were able to work with them on a very successful project in terms of aggregating and combining property information for them at scale. We're talking tens of thousands of properties, being able to combine that, again, combining that information, providing it to them in a structured way, really facilitating, again, decision-driven, data-driven decision-making, and also being able to execute that quickly as well. These are projects that we deliver in weeks, not months or years, to be able to deliver this impact, which is important, right? So when you're investing and you're looking to take this challenge, you want to start seeing the benefits in a matter of weeks, not having to wait 6 months before you start recognizing the value of these as well. Equally, when we look to the legal market, we've had some great success with various law firms across Australia. Shine as an example, we've done some great work with Lou and the team there about delivering a variety of different software bots and a variety of different intelligent automation solutions that return very tangible metrics. In their case, delivering $300,000 worth of ROI in that first 8 weeks after launch, which is a fantastic return on investment and is only going to grow as that business grows as well. So this is an established technology set. It's an established way of improving and scaling your business, not only in the insurance space, but also across a variety of other industries as well. And what we talk about here at rapidMATION, we talk about this concept of intelligent automation, of hyper automation, as Gartner now refers to it. It's really not a case of if you will hyper automate, it's a case of when. And unfortunately, we live in times at the moment where the concept of being able to do a lot more with less and being able to scale my business and being able to really go out and tackle new markets and really protect my revenue streams as well, being able to respond to those changing market conditions is incredibly important. And we see these intelligent automation solutions as really core to that. And this concept of software bots, working with brokers, working with underwriters, is a great way for you to go and tackle that within your respective insurance businesses. So it's not about when, it's all about today. And automation, rapidMATION as we are, that's what we like to talk about. So this concept of automate to survive and then thrive is something equally a concept we're pushing hard now. It's not about, unfortunately, as I said, we're in very changing times. So we need to not only survive the current conditions and And as a country, I think we're doing a great job of that. But as a business now, we need to thrive. How do we grow our markets? How do we scale within our respective businesses as well? And that's where we see these intelligent automation solutions. One of the things rapidMATION can do for you, and one of the great ways to get started, because frequently organizations want to dip their toe, they're not quite sure how to tackle intelligent automation solutions in their business, is we offer what we call the proof of value pack. And it's a 10-day engagement where we come along, we talk about generally one of your particular processes that you'd like to automate, something that has tangible process definition, something that you can see offering a lot of value to the business that perhaps is heavily manual today, or is a combination of a lot of manual steps and a bit of systems, multiple systems. We come down and we sit with you and we work out what can we do and deliver for you in 10 days. There's no commitment in terms of software licensing at this point. We bring our own software licenses to this engagement, and it's really about showing you what's possible. And at the end of that, demonstrating to you, hey, look, this was your original as-is solution. This is what we can do with automation, and being able to present that to yourself and to perhaps other stakeholders in your business and give you a roadmap for your automation and your intelligent automation journey. And that's what we do. We come along and provide that for you, and then we map out your plan as to how you want to go forward with that. And we've seen some great success with this. It enables companies to really understand and get a tangible feel for what robotic process automation and intelligent automation can do for their business. All right, Sean, that's it from me. I'm going to hand back to you. I think we've got a quick poll there as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, John. So yeah, just to summarize that, I think it's all about the future of insurance as we see it, is us as humans working alongside these software bots to create some really great outcomes. And we've shared just a few of the outcomes that companies just like yours are getting out of using some of this technology. And I think that proof of value pack is a great, simple, easy way to get started should you want to dip your toe into the water. So just to finish off, just before I see there's heaps of great questions coming in, so we'll get to those shortly. But I'm just going to launch one more poll for us here very quickly. And the poll I'm going to put up will come up on your screen very shortly. And it just allows us to see kind of where everyone's at. So the question is, which next step would you like to take? Many people love to see more examples of automation in insurance. So if you'd like to see some more, please vote for that option there. The second option is many people have already asked how we get started through the Q&A manager. So the option is find out more about the rapidMATION proof of value pack. So please go ahead and select that one. And then the final answer is, Steve, thank you, great session, but I'm all good for the moment. And there's many people that just like to be kept abreast of some of the latest happenings in the market out there. So I can see there's a flurry of answers coming in. Lots of people are keen to try out the proof of value pack. Lots of people want to see some more automations. A few people said thank you, great session, so thank you for that. And I'll just give it a few more seconds there. There's still a few of you that haven't got an answer in. So if you haven't got one in yet, if you could, that'd be much appreciated. All right, I'll leave that up on screen for the moment. I'll probably leave it open just for the final few people to fill in their answers. But there's been some questions asked in the Q&A manager. So I'll just go through some of those now. The first one is, what happens if Steadfast release an update which moves or renames a button or box on the screen? Will it break the automation? Okay, very good question. So these little software robots are pretty intelligent, and they make use of something called computer vision. And what that really means is that if a box moves from the top left of a screen to the bottom right of a screen, they're not looking for exactly where we've taught it on the screen where that box may be, and they use something called a selector. And a selector is a very intelligent piece of information that these little software bots use, which means they can actually pick up where that box may have been moved to, which means that it doesn't necessarily break the automation, which is really good. In examples where, for example, the box has been completely removed from the screen, then we do need to take that little bot in for a quick service, repoint them to where we can get the new piece of information from, and send them on their way to actually go and fetch that data. So that's how we handle that. All right, John, one for you. So can a software bot automatically pick up details from an incoming email?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we've got a number of different tools that we use. So frequently we have software bots monitoring inboxes that Sean mentioned earlier around claims emails. One particular organization has upwards of 200 or 300 of these emails come in a week, and the software bot's sitting there monitoring the inbox. And the software bot in this particular case has a number of different rules, upwards of about 30 different rules that are dynamically managed and actually managed in a spreadsheet. So it's very configurable by the business. And it evaluates each of these emails based upon those rules and then makes a determination as to what to do next. Does it go and file it away as spam, or does it go and create tasks in different systems for other people to follow up on? And so the software bots can not only interrogate the inbox, but then they can get into doing things like OCR. So going interrogating things like the attachments and going extracting the information out of those attachments. So if you have quotes coming in or renewal documentation, you can go and identify those attachments, scan that information in, that sort of classic, old school OCR, now generally referred to as sort of intelligent capture, and go and extract that information from those documents, combine it into a very standardized structure, and from there, perhaps save it into perhaps a database or even into your underwriting systems, and then the software bot can do any number of different things there afterwards. Same goes for the contents of emails. Frequently, people will write questions in emails or perhaps have structured tables in emails. Same thing applies there. The software bot can come in, look for that information, then determine whether it can read it itself or perhaps go and send it to one of these intelligent capture platforms. So it really depends on the circumstances, the process in your business you're trying to tackle. But certainly there's a number of different options available as to how you take unstructured or semi-structured information in the concept of documents and emails, and then bring that into the business, make it actionable, and combine it as part of your internal processes that perhaps combine software bots or people as well.
Awesome. And John, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because there was a lot of questions around document types. Can these digital workers automatically extract details from different types of documents, PDF, Word, Excel, and the like? And the answer, as you answered there, was yes. And also content inside email. So I think the answer there was yes as well. So that covered off a lot of them. Just looking at a few of the other questions here, lots of great sessions. So thank you very much. Glad it was valuable. We really appreciate that. And the final one, just before we wrap up for today, there's been a few questions around the ability for us to assist with digital forms, John. So I think there's a few questions around, hey, if I wanted to put a form and I'm a broker on my website and I wanted to be able to capture claims information, is that something that can then drive a process, and can you help with that?
Yeah, and I think at a high level, when we talk about these intelligent automation solutions, it's not just about the software bot. It's about combining digital forms. It's about combining the software bot. It's about combining that intelligent capture elements that I was talking about, those AI skills, the business rules, and perhaps even the APIs and things like that that you have driving your systems and your processes internally. So when you think about it, it's about, well, how do I deliver an intelligent solution into my organization? And so that's really about combining those things as well. So when we build digital forms, those digital forms are really about how do people interact and capture, enter information, and we can provide digital forms to customers. So perhaps, hey, I'm looking for a quote on, insuring my house, here are my details, and that comes into the business, perhaps, in simple terms, sometimes just as an email. Ideally, it comes into the business as some sort of structured information. Regardless, the software bot can pick up that information and go with perhaps populating different systems, alerting different users in the business as well. And equally, what we look to do is, if you don't have digital forms for your internal staff, perhaps for your brokers or your underwriters, things like that, you can actually provide digital forms for them as well. Make their lives a bit more task-driven rather than having to go to different systems to go and work out what they need to do. So that's when we talk about workflow and business process management can provide a lot of that capability too. So it's about combining all of these into these intelligent solutions for your business and driving your business around those.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jono. There was a couple of questions rather on chatbots as well. So I'll maybe take that one. Chatbots, a very common scenario. It's something that is one of our core focus areas. We often use chatbots in kind of initial claim scenarios where someone can self-serve and get details, and that might drive process behind it. And we've got some great examples that we can share on that as well. So certainly reach out. And as mentioned, if you had an idea for an automation, this proof of value pack is a really great, easy way to get started in perhaps a low risk way. I see there's heaps of other questions in there. Hopefully we've hit the main topics there. John and I will reply to everyone else individually just to make sure you have your questions answered. But just to finish off today, firstly, we really appreciate your time. There are a few things that we as a company, rapidMATION, do for the community. One of them is something called the Automation Alliance podcast. And the Automation Alliance is really just our community network where we know that people out there in Australia have a thirst for knowledge on all things intelligent automation. This podcast is designed, it's 15 minutes to half an hour episodes. The latest one was actually around an insurtech company. A good friend of mine, Murray McDonald, shared some of his things around there. It's had some great feedback and comments. I encourage you to go listen to that. It's a great thing just to be able to keep abreast of the latest things in intelligent automation. And I also would love to invite all of you to join our community, right? It's free to join, no expectations of it. If you head over to automationalliance.com, you'll get redirected to a LinkedIn group. Please request to join that group. And it's really a great place where our customers, friends, technology partners, and solution providers can ask questions. We share demos often on there and just some of the great things that people are doing out there on intelligent automation. All right, so to end off, I really thank you all for your time. We hope it's been a useful session. Please send us comments, feedback, and the like. If you'd like to ping Jono, you can get him at jono@rapidmation.com, or alternatively, drop me an email at sean@rapidmation.com. But we thank you for your time, and we look forward to helping a lot of you out soon with some of your intelligent automation needs. Thanks very much.